If you've been waiting for cheaper money before you make your next move, this week's news says stop waiting and start planning around the rates you actually have. I'm Drew. This is Main Street Operator. It's Monday, and here are 3 things moving on your block that should change something on your desk this week. First, the Fed. On June 17th, the Federal Reserve held its benchmark rate at 3.5 to 3.75% for the 4th straight meeting. That's CNBC in the Fed's own statement. But read past the headline because the projections flipped. 9 officials now see at least 1 rate hike before the end of the year, and the median forecast nudged up to 3.8%. For a year, the story was when do cuts come. The story now is that a hike is back on the table. Here's what that means if you carry a variable rate line of credit or you're eyeing equipment financing. The cheap money window you've been holding out for may not open, and it could get more expensive. Your action this week is concrete. Pull up your debt and find anything on a floating rate. Call your banker and ask what it costs to lock it. And if you've been sitting on an SBA loan application waiting for a better rate, get it submitted now. Pre-approval costs you nothing and protects you if borrowing gets tighter, not looser, by December. And while you've got your banker on the phone, ask whether a fixed-rate term loan can refinance that floating balance, because the spread between the two is the cheapest insurance you'll buy all year. Second, private equity is still buying your competition. The American Prospect reported on June 16th that Rollups have spread into nearly every corner of home services, and the numbers back it up. Private equity has poured more than $50 billion into residential HVAC, plumbing, and electrical since 2018. In February, Champions Group sold to Blackstone at roughly 18.5 times earnings. One platform, Apex Service Partners, closed about 60 add-on acquisitions in a single year. Here's why that matters even if you'll never sell. Those buyers pay add-on shops 4 to 8 times earnings under $2 million in EBITDA and 6 to 11 times above it, according to CT Acquisitions. That tells you 2 things. The roll-up next door is bidding up wages and ad spend in your market, and your own business is worth more than you probably think. Your action this week is to calculate your actual EBITDA, owner's earnings added back, and multiply by 5. That number is roughly what you're sitting on. Knowing it changes how you decide whether to compete harder or position to sell. And there's a labor angle you can act on right now. When a roll-up lands in your market, the first thing it does is poach experienced techs with signing bonuses. Get ahead of it. Pull your 2 or 3 best people aside this week and have the retention conversation before someone else does, because replacing a senior tech costs you far more than keeping one happy. Third, your swipe fees. Merchants pay an average of 2.35% on every card transaction, and a federal judge gave preliminary approval in June to the long-running Visa and Mastercard settlement. That's NAV and the NRF. If it's finalized, it would cut the average interchange rate by 10 basis points for 5 years. 10 basis points sounds tiny until you do the math on your volume. On $1 million in card sales, that's $1,000 a year. And the settlement also opens a claims process for fees you've already paid. Your action this week is 2-part. Check whether your state allows surcharging, because most do when it's capped and disclosed, and add a compliant line to your receipts if it fits your business. And put a note on your calendar to file a claim when the settlement window opens later this year. That's money you already spent, waiting to be reclaimed. While you're in there, pull your last 3 merchant statements and find your effective rate. Total fees divided by total card volume. If it's north of 3%, you're a phone call away from renegotiating, and your processor will not volunteer that conversation. 3 stories, 1 thread. The operators who win the back half of this year are the ones who plan around the rates and rules they actually have, not the ones they wish were coming. Friday, I'll have a spotlight on a Utah operator who went bankrupt twice and built a niche nobody could copy, plus a tool that's saving owners 1/5 of their labor budget. I'm Drew, and this is Main Street Operator. Get to work.